You're going to see now something that you have never seen before, probably.
For the longest time in Syria, if you went out for dinner at a restaurant and asked for the bill, you might have been faced with this sound. A clunky cash counter handling hundreds of bills.
More money. Come on, it's here.
The largest of them, a 5,000 pound note worth just cents on the US dollar. Business Extra is back. After a 2-week break, we turn our focus to Syria, where the government has launched a major currency reform, redenomination. That's the process of changing the face value of currency while it's in circulation. In this case, Syria's authorities on money are dropping 2 zeros from the Syrian pound. They're also printing new banknotes, now without the image of former President Bashar al-Assad. But beyond the fresh print and political symbolism, we're asking, will it work? The Syrian pound has lost more than 99% of its value since the start of the civil war in 2011. And economists are warning that a new currency means little without real policy reform. Hyperinflation, lack of investor trust, and a shattered economy still loom large. The cost of producing the notes is high, and there's uncertainty about how that cost is covered. So Farid is our senior business reporter here at The National. Thanks for joining the Business Extra.
Thanks a lot, Salim.
Yeah, so it seems like this redenomination is going to, first of all, simplify day-to-day transactions, making their lives a bit easier, but then also has that symbolic element of improving public confidence and trust in the national currency, and possibly, as you'd mentioned as well, deterring from black market activity. Can you explain how that is? For example, how will this counter black market and how will it improve trust in transactions in Syria?
Right now, people like for doing a simple transaction, let's say to buy groceries in a shop, they have to carry bundles of notes because the currency is so devalued, it's severely devalued. So for buying, let's say like small grocery item, they have to carry like stacks of notes with them, put in a bag and take to the grocery store and buy items. So that's really kind of burdensome for people in daily transactions, as well as for transfer of money, as well as it's a big accounting headache for people. So by reducing zeros, what they're trying to do is that if you're spending 5,000 pounds, then the transaction comes to only 500 pounds. So that's something which will help people and make their lives much easier.
And what about in digital transactions? Because you mentioned it'll reduce black market activity. Would that, are they using maybe more high risk methods given sanctions put on Syria to be able to send money abroad or even locally?
That's not clear at the moment because digital payments market is not much developed in Syria at the moment because of lack of investments. So that's something which the government would be very interested in the coming days to kind of support the digital payments and the digital transaction and really to support the digital economy in Syria. Of course, that move, if there is a digital payment methods and also more scrutiny, will definitely help in countering black market in Syria.
Got it. So it seems like at the moment, cash is king, but improving digital money capabilities will really help make the lives of Syrians easier.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it seems like it's definitely just the beginning.
It does actually help, but because the thing is that there is a confidence. Right now, there is a very low level of confidence among people about Syria's monetary policy. In the last 6 months alone, there have been 2 changes. Head of central bank, Syrian central bank have been replaced in the last 6 months. And there is no confidence among people what the new monetary policy is going to be and in which direction the new monetary policy is going to head to. But the new move with the new monetary policy by removing 2 zeros as well as printing new banknotes is going to give some kind of confidence in the monetary policy.
Yeah, so it seems like the symbolism alone of removing the face of the former President Bashar al-Assad and his father from images on new banknotes, is that the type of thing as well that kind of shows even visually that things are moving forward?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's one of the things. So the banknotes always carried the images of Bashar al-Assad and Hafez al-Assad. By removing these pictures from the banknotes, it gives some kind of a signal that the new authority is really kind of proactive and serious about framing a new policy, as well as in which direction they're going to take. It's going to be basically a dawn of a new era in Syria's financial system.
And with that said, how does this overhaul create an improvement in governance and stability. You said that this initial action is going to likely provide more security when it comes to financial transactions and carrying less money. But how does this maybe address the bigger problem, which is how it's all handled and the stability that people are seeking?
Right now, this is a very small step. The economy of Syria continues to remain weak, and inflation is really high at the moment. So this is not going to change the fundamentals of Syrian economy currently. But the thing is that the Syrian central bank has started somewhere, and the people are feeling that it's kind of a positive step.
What have you found out from your reporting is needed for Syria to show that it's becoming more stable?
It needs a sound macroeconomic policies currently, and also transparency in governance. That's actually which is lacking at the moment. So as long as they don't have sound macroeconomic policies, a roadmap on how to improve the economy and how to attract investments, how to stabilize the currency, all these things are very essential for a country which has gone through like 14 years of civil war and has not seen much economic development. So the government needs to start rolling really serious economic reforms to attract more investment into the country. Those are really positive signs, but the government has to still frame certain policies, really kickstart the entire economic reform program.
Farid, thanks so much for your insights.
Thanks a lot, Salim.
We'll be right back.
What are you listening to? Does it sound anything like this? How about this? Or maybe something farther off the beaten path, like this. However you might define the Arabic music you're listening to, that is, if you want to put labels on it, we've got it covered here on our new podcast from The National. Or maybe you just might fall in love with some sounds that are totally new to you. I'm Saeed Saeed, music reporter for The National in Abu Dhabi. And this is Tarab, a new podcast exploring the Middle East's dynamic and evolving music scene through candid conversations with some of the region's most compelling artists.
To conceive an album from day one, know where we're going.
I love talking about this city so much.
We lack, seriously, symphonic works that represent our beauty.
Reconnect also to the past of this region, this country, of my family.
We named this show for one of those Arabic words that, well, doesn't really have an English equivalent. But we might consider it a broad genre of Arabic music that's informal but traditional, structured but malleable, tense but warm. Yeah, you'll get a feel for it here. We'll be coming to you every Tuesday with a new episode from our first season, so make sure to follow the show wherever you stream your podcasts so you never miss a beat. See you back here real soon.
We're speaking to Hani Abuagla, a senior market analyst at XTB Mena in the UAE. Hani, we're dealing with something here that's not necessarily unusual, but can be confusing for people who aren't familiar with the ins and outs of economics. That's redenomination. Now, we've heard of it as dropping 2 zeros from the face value of Syria's bills. Can you tell us how exactly that works and what it's supposed to do?
Thank you, Salim, for this question. I think with the last comment came from the governor of Syria's central bank. He said that they will move 2 zeros from the currency. I think usually currency printing itself, which is the process of the printing, is costly sometimes, especially for central banks and especially in a small economy countries, same like Syria and other countries in the region. So usually whenever we want to change the currency, they will try to also take a step also in improving the currency rate itself, because the numbers itself sometimes it will be like it's not easy to deal with in the economy. Whenever we say something like 50,000, 100,000, it will be very hard to deal with that kind of rate. And second thing also, to easy market the currency itself. It will be easy to deal with and easy also to market the currency itself. So they will remove those kind of zeros. Actually, the purchase value and purchase power still the same. Just the name will be changed from 5,000 will be just 50 or this kind of thing. So I think that's why sometimes they do both when they rebrand the currency with a totally new, as he said, that there is no picture of anyone will be there. It will be just Syria war and some logos, definitely the watermarks and others. So usually they will take this step with changing the zeros with that.
Hani, does this improve day-to-day spending and overall economic stability? And have other countries done this effectively in the past?
Yes, so there is many countries that they did this in the past. Usually, any country that their currency devaluated so much to numbers, I think we have seen it with the Syria. It reached big numbers, especially during the Bashar al-Assad when he was leaving the country. The currency went down so much. Luckily now, the currency rate improved by 35% gain in a Syrian currency itself, with I think with the monetary action plus also the rules that were lifted, the sanction or the bans, even the bans on the currency, foreign currency trading inside Syria itself, I think improved the rate a lot. So it moved in that side. Many countries in the region, they did this before, especially with very high inflation rate, that the currency moved to be like a million, to one note with a million, or sometimes trillion, like Zimbabwe, sometimes in Venezuela, sometimes even in Sudan itself, my country. Even in Sudan also, they did this before, like they removed zeros within 30 years, I think 2 to 3 times.
And you mentioned an important point about sanctions. So are these reforms necessary to restore credibility and its central bank's independence and therefore as well international acceptance?
The most important is the central banks, they did, especially the Syrian one, according to the governor again also, he said we are working at $3 in this move. Monetary stability, the most important is the stability of the currency itself. That's the first move always the central banks do before even to improve the currency. Second one is stabilizing the banking system, which is very important for any economy. The third one, the payment system. They want to improve the payment system inside Syria itself and to be controlled by the central bank, which is we have also in the region, Egypt as an example for that, which Saudi Arabia as also another example for that. They are controlling the payment system. Is very good for the data and statistics, plus also. And you can say like one of the tools also the central bank use sometimes to guess or try to target the inflation.
And a major transition like this of using a different type of banknote and having it nationwide, what challenges might banks face during this transitional period of using the coexistence of old notes and new notes at the same time?
Actually, the central banks, whenever they do this kind of things, usually it comes in a full system. There is a committee for that, and they need to do it in the process of sometimes within 1 month. In the region, when it happens, if it happens during the time, like 1 month to 2 months, it gives enough time to the people to come, even sometimes from far areas, to come to the banks, open a bank account, and then changing their currency, and then bank it there and try to provide for them whatever payment system. So sometimes even countries they use it even to increase the bank's account numbers, to increase also what they call the payment system, and to improve these kind of things also away from the cash, because the cash is very, very hard for the central bank sometimes in such a cost.
And how long would you say this transitional process would take?
Usually the central bank decide on this one. Sometimes I think the optimum time is 1 month at least, but definitely it might take more than that, and they can extend. Many cases they extend it as long as they can see that the process took longer than usual, and there is still like mini cash outside the banks. The good thing about this point is not just about changing or rebranding Syria, as it's totally now is a new Syria, but it's the most important is to improve cash flow in a banking system. And second thing, also one of the way to push people to open bank accounts, because in these such countries, usually you find less than 30% to 40% of the people they have bank accounts, or they are open up to bank accounts and they still deal with cash. So I think this is one of the way to tackle that.
And Hani, yes, that also brings up the idea of black market activity. Will a move like this help narrow the divide between official and black market activity?
I think the central banks also did a very good move to align the black market with the official rate. I think since early of December last year, they tried to put it on 12,500. That's the rate, and since then the Syrian currency, I think, will start to improve. I think this is one of the way when there is a lot of cash in the market, usually the big players, they will try to speculate the currency because they know that the country now, they are facing a big issue with foreign currencies, and usually it is one direction. But when the central banks do this kind of things and the local currency itself increase in such a way like to tackle the black market totally out.
I see. So it seems like then they'll use the more reliable source of the same value, and then more and more people will start to use the official currency instead of other black market currencies.
Exactly. That's what we're going to do exactly. And I think with the big investment, especially foreign investments, I think lately in Syria, it came like almost 14 billion foreign investment. We have seen that with Damascus airport and also subway systems and housing towers and this kind of things. It came all in total like 14 billion. And don't forget also I think the 6 billion, the Saudi, when you mentioned there is 47 deals or agreements opening up projects in Syria. Plus also lately it increased. So I think the UAE are open up to that, Saudi are open up to that, and also Qatar and Kuwait as well. I think the first time we see Gulf, they are united on such a goal in a country, in a region, to improve that country.
I think you've, just with your answer there, identified the importance of Syria working with other countries to improve its economy. Syria recently joined the global SWIFT financial system after 14 years. Can you describe why that's important?
I think it's a very critical move, and I think it's good for the international bank connectivity. As you can see now, definitely, yes, for sure, Syria has diaspora that they are funding their country. I think with the 2 billion, as we said, I think also that will help them to ease that one, and also that's bring them away from the black market. That's another way, but also it'll make it easy for them to make projects. Because sometimes in many countries, we have seen SWIFT, as in Sudan, my country as well. The same thing happened. For 20 years, they're totally away from the SWIFT. It really killed the banks system. They have to rely on correspondence bank overseas, and they have to go through many channels to reach the official payment system.
What do you see as the next steps and the outlook for Syria in terms of its economic growth and stability? Do you see it happening over major developments over the next few months, a year?
I think it will come back very fast. I think everyone is agreeing on that Syria has to come back fast and their economy has improved very fast. Away from like people should return to Syria and this kind of things. But I think the geolocation of Syria itself, the importance of Syria history, their location very near to the Gulf area. And also don't forget the geopolitical situation, what's happening in the Middle East. I think it's everyone agreeing that Syria has to come back very fast. By liberalizing also the market. They said that they will make it like a free liberalization in the market. That also will help them to totally change the whole picture of Syria, their economy. And we know that Syria, they have an oil of almost 300,000 barrels. Don't forget also their export and their imports. They were almost reaching in a situation that like almost isolated outside the market. So I think they have big room to improve in the coming future. I think in less than 1 year, we will see a big improvement in Syrian currency, Syrian GDP, Syrian foreign direct invest. And also, I think what's happened with Saudi Arabia and Qatar, it will not stop anytime soon. I think they have an agreement on that. I think that's the government's only. Until now, we haven't seen the private sector jumping in. And usually the private sector move with government whenever they move. I think next time will be the private sector will come up in a big way. I heard a lot of projects happening in Syria and some plans even for new projects, but until now it's not announced by private sectors. But I think, the jump will be, I think, one of the best examples for a comeback, as you can say, in football. I think it will happen in the Syrian economy.
Definitely. And it seems like there's a lot of international interest as well to be early movers in terms of working with Syria to tap into these opportunities from energy, as you said. So it's going to be exciting to see what takes place over the next few months to a year. So, Hani, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Salim. Thank you for having me today.
That's it for this week's episode of Business Extra. Please make sure to follow and subscribe wherever you're listening so you can get our episodes as soon as they drop. This episode was produced by Yasmin Al-Taji. Arthur Edison is our audio engineer. Duat Farid is our editor. And I've been your host, Salim Essaid.